cards that Ishizu uses in the original animated series in Battle City.
Let's go ahead and meet our players. It's Michael, and he's out of Merrimack, New Hampshire. I didn't get to catch his favorite card there, but I'm sure he's excited to be here. And we also have Albert. He's from LA. His favorite card, Stardust Dragon. I know as a Glider Beast player, you might kind of have a love-hate relationship with Stardust Dragon. It's a card I used to always try to make against the Glider Beast strategy, but definitely cool to see a Signer Dragon up here as a favorite card.
Well, I have a lot of fond memories of tagging out Geyserus and making Murmelo Chainlink 1 and a quest, or Darius Chainlink 2, so they can't use Stardust's effect.
So you've known how to deal with this since the beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, Albert is using a Chillerman deck that uses all of the Ishizu cards, 3 of each copy of Agito, Kelbeck, Keldo, and Eudora from Magnificent Mavens, one of the decks to beat of the tournament, whereas Michael is using a Floowandereeze deck that a lot of people have chosen to play as somewhat of a counter to that Chillerman strategy, hoping to just stop the deck in its tracks and gain the advantage over the deck that most of the field perceives to be the most powerful deck in the room.
Yeah, no, I'm really a big fan of the Floowandereeze strategy, and like we even see Michael here even emphasizing more on that banishing from the graveyard. Normally you just see copies of Dimension Shifter, you just kind of hope that you're going to open up with it, but he's also, running other cards like DD Crow and the Bestials to make sure even when he goes second, if he doesn't have Shifter, he's going to have a ton of other ways to interact with the opponent on their first turn. These little turn 0 cards that you're able to put monsters onto the board while disrupting their strategy. Really fantastic. We saw like the Bestials in YCS Minnesota 2 weeks ago just take the tournament by storm, and with you mentioned these Shizu cards that came out of Magnificent Mavens, I'm sure we're going to see more of those Bestials here this weekend. Maybe because of these Shizu cards are taking up so much room in those decks, we're going to see a little less engine, maybe just a couple here, maybe a Magma or a Druisworm. Druisworm, cool Bestial. Just going to talk about him real fast. I kind of underestimated how cool this card is because when you summon it, it doesn't do anything on summon. It's just going to banish that light or dark from the opponent's graveyard if they have a monster on the field. But you get to start your turn with a body on board that you can use for a link summon. And when you link it away, you're taking one of your opponent's monsters with you. It's really, really cool, and it really just shows the power. You can really splash any sort of small Bestial engine even into a deck like Floowandereeze. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 of our second round of Swiss here at YCS Pasadena. Die rolls down Snake Eyes versus an 8 versus Albert. Never good to roll Snake Eyes. But Albert is going to be taking the play here.
Stand by, me.
See a couple copies of Herald of Orange Light. That's the card that's really seen an uptick in play. You can get all these fairies now into your deck to discard with it. That also gain bonus effects while they're in the graveyard or when they're sent to the graveyard.
So Albert's going to start off with the new Eudora by discarding an Earth Fairy from his hand. He's going to special summon it, and he actually plays 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Trap that he can now activate from his deck. Gravekeeper's Trap is an incredible card if he manages it to get Exchange of the Spirit into his graveyard. It essentially imitates Necro Valley's effect, which can completely shut down certain decks.
Would you like to?
Yeah, it's certainly a crazy bonus effect if you're able to get that Exchange of the Spirit into the graveyard. It's also going to let him add. Oh, he's going to use the Kelbeck effect since it's into the graveyard. Both players are going to send the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard. So now he sees he's not playing a mirror match. He is playing his Floowandereeze. So Albert's going to be more inclined to use these milling effects from the Ishizu cards.
We'll have some trigger effects.
Medora also has the effect on the field. While it's on the field or in the graveyard, you can banish it. Quick effect, you shuffle 3 cards from either player's graveyard back. But now he's going to be triggering his effects from the Keldo. He milled 3 TR names and 2 Ishizu names.
It looks like Shirin, Merly, and Rhino Heart for the tier elements.
And he's going to activate Chainlink 1 Merly, Chainlink 2 Sherry, and it looks like Chainlink 3, it's a Bestial. So we're already seeing some dividends being paid here from playing the Bestials in the Floowandereeze strategy.
Yeah, and now that Michael has so many cards in his graveyard, he also won't even be able to use Dimension Shifter this duel.
Yep, and they got Herald of the Bestial got Herald of Orange Light, discarding another Ishizu card, and now we're seeing another mill 5 from the Agito that was milled from the Kelbeck. So 10 cards off the top of Michael's deck, 10 cards off the top of Albert's deck, and now he's resolving both of his Charlemagne fusion effects.
He also hit the barrier statue from the top of the deck, so that may cut off that line of play for Michael, although it may not be the most effective card this match going second anyway. So.
Right. It's hard to stop the summoning once all the monsters are already on the board a little bit there.
Yeah. And it looks like Albert's going to have a very good turn, so I don't think stopping him from doing more things is going to be particularly helpful.
Yeah, we've seen players kind of, you're going to use 3 Yugioh or you're going to use 1, because a lot of times you don't know if your opponent's playing a mirror match, so they're also playing tier element. So when you use those effects to or send the top 5 cards of both players next to the graveyard, you can be giving them some extra value, but you see how beneficial it is when the opponent is something on like Flunderies, where they're not going to get any of those bonus effects from the mill, because you just get to do pretty much whatever you want. So he's doing Kiktalis effect, send it to the graveyard to summon Rhino Heart. Chain Link 1, Rhino Heart is going to send a tier element, and Chain Link 2, Kiktalis is going to send the top 5 cards from his deck to the graveyard. So we've already seen Albert send 15 cards from his deck to the graveyard, but he's always used pretty much all of his cards. So the only thing he's looking to put into his graveyard now are more copies of Mudora, more copies of Keldo, even though it won't be really useful in this matchup. But that's usually what you're trying to do here when you're milling more cards after you've already fusion summoned a few times.
Yeah, so that looks like a Kelbeck, Rhino Heart, and Sheeran in the grave, but I think he used all 3 of those effects already, right?
Yeah, I think he might have held off on Merly, it looks like, because he's only fusion summoned for the Kiktalos.
Yes, the Merly I think he sent to the graveyard with Rhino Heart, right?
Yep.
So that's why he chose that one.
Yep, and now he's going to discard the Merly for the Rhino Heart effect. And then the Merly is going to fusion summon with Kiktalos. So Merly goes to the bottom of the deck, Kiktalos goes back to the extra deck, and now Tier Elements Root Kalos will probably come down. Oh, nope. He's going to go for the old school Dragostapelia. Takes a fusion monster and a dark monster. He'll be able to put a Predaplant counter on a monster on the field, and while Dragostapelia is on the field, the monster's effect is negated and its level is changed.
Yeah, Dragostapelia in this matchup is way more powerful than Root Kalos, because the Flunderies monsters, or the Flunderies duelist, is heavily dependent on being able to resolve the effect of a Flunderies monster, use that effect to normal summon again. And if you can cut that off with a card like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, the Predaplant Dragostapelia, or a card like Infinite Impermanence, you can sometimes just stop the Flunderies player in their tracks and just destroy them on your next turn.
Yeah, that is very, very true. There definitely heads up here. That's something, another benefit from sending the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. You know what they're playing now. You get to just dictate your board based upon what you already see. And I think that's why we do see the Dragostapelia, as you mentioned.
Yeah, the risk, of course, with doing that is in a different matchup where you're playing against tier elements, you're sending 5 of their cards to the graveyard and now giving them access to all these effects.
Could be a little risky, yeah. Unless you're able to, like, make an Abyss Duel or something before you do it. But then at that point, you're just, what are you doing? But it looks like Albert taking a moment to consider his options from here. Yeah, see, a lot of milling, but this board not too crazy.
Traps effect before you draw. I'm gonna call
Gravekeeper's Trap also has the effect you get to declare a card name.
No, this is before the.
So he's using the blind guess.
Yeah,
he doesn't know what's on top, but he will pick a card played in Flunderies decks. Yeah. And if he guesses the card right, as a Shizu would in Battle City, then that card's sent to the graveyard instead of his hand.
Yeah, it's a little easier to call it right when you know what the future holds.
I'm gonna call the address.
Shizu's very close to like Pegasus. Yes. Like Pegasus can use his eye to like see into your mind, read your mind, but Shizu just sees the future.
Yeah. So the card he drew was DD Crow. I don't think Albert picked that, not even knowing if Michael plays DD Crow in his deck.
Yeah, it's a cool effect from Gravekeeper's Trap. If you're ever in a situation your opponent needs like that one out in their deck to top deck, just call that one out, and then you're a little covered. It's kind of cool. And the fact that you just get Gravekeeper's Trap from your deck for free with Mudora, fantastic. Really showing the power of Magnificent Mavens and how that much impact that set has made here this weekend.
Duality's fun.
Pot of Duality coming down, going to reveal or execute the top 3, add 1 to hand, the rest gets shuffled back.
He reveals Map, M-Pen, and a Pot of Prosperity. None of those appear to be immediately helpful. Perhaps the Map can help, since it would allow him a second summon with the Dragostapelia, effectively neutralizing the first summon monster. And he does take the Map.
Yeah, if you don't have Map, no matter what you're facing down, it's tough not to pick Map if you don't have it. Even if I don't have like a starter, I kind of want Map more than just having a Robina or an Eaglin just isn't enough. You need the Map. It looks like he's going to have to preemptively use the Advent of Adventure here. You never really want to use it before summoning a monster because you're just losing value here, but going to trade off an Avian
to
add Flunderies card.
Either a Map or a bird in simple terms.
Oh, that's fine.
And I gain 5. It's mandatory.
He'll gain his 500 life points too.
Nice little extra bonus effect on the Advent. It looks like he is going to banish the Avian to add Robina.
This is a pretty standard first search. Usually players
no
want
point when I'm
Robina first to summon, and they want it to resolve. That would let them get another level 4 or lower Floowandereeze monster to just keep the chain of summons going.
To activate the card.
Yes. Activation's fine.
Okay. I'll attempt to activate.
Michael activates map. Going to activate map to reveal Floowandereeze in hand, then banish a different one from the deck. And then he gets to immediately normal summon that Floowandereeze monster from the hand.
2 cards in hand, correct?
2 cards against correct. And I will banish Eagle.
Okay.
So Magnificent Map's going to banish Eaglin. The Robina gets normal summon. Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2
Solid, target the Robina.
is going to be Eaglin.
Yes.
And Chain 3 Solik. Not even use the Drago Spell yet. Going to go for Solik first.
Okay, so that works a lot like Infinite Impermanence, except he will have to send one of his monsters to the graveyard.
So you proceed.
Why do you suppose he didn't use the effect of his Dragos Tapeli
And
instead?
then you still add the Eagle.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm also in the camp where I like to use my
Sorry,
face-up
what did you
effects
add
that you
on
can
the
already
Advent
see. I'd rather get those out of the way first than give you the ones that you don't know about.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
I will
maybe
banish
just
for my, normal
decide to go and use it first.
summon Eagle. I'll
Right.
attempt to
So now he gets another normal
use
summon
Dragos
since he
Tapeli
used the map to get the first one, and now he'll use Egglin's effect. So now he's using the face-up Dragos Tapelia to negate the Egglin's effect.
Before you end, at the end of main, I will use Gravekeeper's Trap. I'll discard for cost. It's gonna let me add a Gravekeeper's or Earth Fairy monster from the deck to hand.
Gravekeeper Earth Fairies. That's fine.
Okay, so before the end of the main phase, Gravekeeper's Trap's other effect is being used, since it can only be used in the main phase. And he
I'm
gets
gonna
to
add
search
Yugioh
his
to my
deck for one of the new Earth Fairy Ishizu monsters, as the players call them. And he grabs Yugioh by discarding that Herald of Orange Light. I feel like his hand must be pretty good if he just gave up Herald of Orange Light.
Okay.
Yeah, Herald Orange Light is just such an impactful card. That's really my favorite part about these, Shizu cards is having their fairies. And the Herald Orange Light, you get to negate a monster effect and destroy it, and you get the bonus effect of whatever you send.
I think it's especially strong in this matchup where it stops the effect that gives the normal summon.
Oh yeah, certainly. But it looks like we do have a gentleman, Sharon, coming down, discarding Yugioh, so he has the potential to mill 3 here, and then if he wants, he can mill another 5 from Yugioh.
So
He also sent Merly, Heartbeat, and Keldo. Keldo is one of the graveyard effect ones.
And Agido Chain 2.
So he is using Yugioh
I'll
and
Crow the
Merly.
Merly's chain 3.
We're gonna Crow the Merly.
With Merly banished by DD Crow, he won't be able to fuse with it, so he'll only be able to resolve the Yugioh effect.
Well, 1 card in hand.
Looks like Albert taking a moment to consider his options.
That said, who knows what 5 more cards will
And
get
then
him.
we'll both know 5.
Yep, 5 more from Michael as well.
Unfortunately off screen, but that looks like a tier limit.
I think I saw a Sharon at least. Oh, there's a
I'll
Havness.
activate Havness.
Havness, 2. It looks like 2 Havnesses, so you can only use one of their effects. But he will.
Yeah, it just you need to see the power when you're having the Shizu cards of maximum milling against a deck that's not beneficial from things you use in the graveyard. Like you just really never run out of gas and ways to keep going.
So it looks like he is fusing together 3 tier limits.
So I used 2, and then I used 4. So I'll shuffle these 3 back.
Okay.
Unless he has another Dragos Tapelia, I think we're going to see Kaleido Heart here.
I'll go into Kaleido Heart. I will use Kaleido Heart's effect to target the map to shuffle it back to that.
Oh, that's fine.
Ooh, Kaleido Heart gets rid of the
I
map.
will
That is
switch
going
the
to be a
Yugioh
brutal
to attack mode.
blow to Michael, who now has 1 card in his hand, is about to lose his field,
Use
and only has 1 normal summon to
Solid's
perform
effect,
without
target
another
the,
map.
Eaglin.
To do what?
It's going to negate the effect.
Negate the effect.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to permanently negate it.
Okay. For this turn.
No, permanent.
Okay.
So
And then I'll send
he uses
Sharon
Soleik to negate Eaglin's effect, really for
As
the
long as it's
benefit
on-
of sending
this is on-
Sheeran to the graveyard, so that he can then use Sheeran's effect to perform another fusion summon.
Yeah, it's like team kind of thing we're talking about.
You
Herald
summon
Orange Light,
one,
where
you
you're
can
doubling up
activate
on your effects.
a
You're getting a
different
negating effect, and then you also get another effect. Definitely the power of tier limits.
Yeah, so it seems he discarded the Herald of Orange Light because he
So,
anticipated
Sharon
just
the
winning
effect
this
to
turn.
fuse.
That's usually a pretty good reason.
She's the last
Nothing
one
to
now.
stop on your opponent's next turn if your opponent doesn't have a next turn.
You've been definitely
Sharon
close to being able to do 8,000 here. He has 3,000 with Kaleido Heart, 27 Dragon's Fidelity, 20 3 with Kictalis, and I think Medora is 12 or 15.
I believe Mudora's 15. That's my recollection from the original Mudora.
The original one, his attack got bigger, right? If you had more
Yes.
fairies, it just kept getting stronger.
I think it was in Dark Crisis. Mudora?
Yeah, one of those early sets for sure.
Heart, no effect. Attempt to go to battle.
Sure.
Mudora hit. So you take 700. So minus.
78.
Okay. And then attack with 15, so it's 9.
9.
All of the new Ishizu monsters reimagined
6.
in Magnificent Mavens have the same stats as the original
Well, no,
versions.
the effects.
I guess I kind of just like assumed they did, yeah. But they usually do. They usually just get the bonus effect something. Sometimes you get a little stronger, but
Puts me at 69.
Yes, and then this is 4 and that's 3.
3 cents. Okay.
It's way more than 8,000 points of damage. Michael's just confirming.
and it looks like Albert's going to take it. You know, being able to go first and really get a strategy online right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great start for Albert.
We kind of heard Michael that he had the orange light for that beast. Not only did he have like the start to start milling and get everything online, that orange light on the bestial that Michael included in his deck. Like you wouldn't normally expect something like bestials or DD crows. Maybe a DD crow because it's a wing beast, right? But you wouldn't expect the bestials, and he even had that. But to be countered by orange light was just really one of the best hands Albert probably could have had when he opened up, having Medora. It was Medora, a Kelbeck, orange light plus another fairy, right? And then a tier on top of that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ask for much more.
Yeah, and he started sending cards from his deck to his graveyard immediately, and everything just panned out the way he wanted it to.
Yeah, my favorite part about his opening, starting with like Medora and Keldo, mainly because the only thing I'm talking about is like the tier limit mirror match, because coming into this tournament, you're going to expect to play a lot of those Shizu tier limit mirror matches. But if you start with like Medora, discard Keldo, like going second, you immediately put in a card in the graveyard that's quick effect banish, shuffle 3 cards back from either player's graveyard, right? And you're also sticking one on the field that lets you either activate, we saw Gravekeeper's Trap from your deck, but while they're both on the field or graveyard, you just have 2 quick effects to immediately start your turn to interrupt your opponent from fusion summoning. So it's really, really like impactful to get those cards on the field. And also, they're just level 4s. The Yugioh, we're talking about how it can just mill 5 from both players. Well, it also has another effect. If a card is sent from your opponent's deck or hand to the graveyard, you can spell some from your hand and bring back one of those level 4 Earth Fairies. And you just have a rank 4 like that. And I hear there's a rank 4 running around that's actually pretty good right now. There's a few of them. There's Abyss Dweller, number 41, my favorite. So if you're having trouble against Flundry, sometimes you can just like shell up, go into a Baguska, put it in defense mode. Hopefully they don't have, what is it, of course, I go to look at his deck list for the name. The Unexplored Winds, that's right, the continuous spell. I always want to call it a sunrise because to me it looks like a sun is rising on the card. But the Unexplored Winds is a way to get around Baguska. But definitely a lot of ways, a lot of more ways to make rank 4s. I mean, you're adding 12 level 4 monsters into your deck that all can mill cards and special summon themselves. It's really awesome what they bring to the tier limit strategy.
Yeah, the Unexplored Winds can pretty much get around any card because it just lets you send your opponent's cards to the graveyard.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that card in Flundries. Even like in Master Duel, I play like a couple of them because in the mirror match, the more you have, the better off it is because that's like the main card you're using in the mirror to deal with all your opponent's cards as you grind back and forth. But, you know, this matchup is going to be interesting. Obviously, if you're going in, we see that Michael, you know, compensated for the deck not being as good going second by including the DD Crows, the Bestials, and everything on top of having Shifter. But, you know, sometimes just having that is not enough. And they have, I mean, the Herald of Orange Light is the big difference maker. Pretty much anything you can throw at the Ishizu deck can be countered with Herald of Orange Light. Outside of, like, Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure, your Dimension Shifter, you can Herald of Orange Light that. Your DD Crows, Bestials, Herald of Orange Light. That is the focal point of the reason why I like the Ishizu cards so much.
Yeah, and the Herald of Orange Light is more than just counters to things that stop you in this matchup especially, because you're basically able to stop the Flundry's player from playing by just cutting off their chain of summons. So it's particularly strong here.
Yeah, it certainly is. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. Michael is going to be able to go first with his birds. We'll have to see if he's able to go on a journey or if it'll be short.
Anything quick and draw or standby? No.
We did see Flundries make it all the way to the finals of YCS Minneapolis 2 weeks ago. Didn't walk away with the win. Crystal Blanc was able to walk away with his 4th win, but Flundries is definitely one of those other decks that's, I would say, is maybe the number 2 contender almost here this weekend. A lot of players running it.
Yeah, I have heard of a lot of players in my local running it as well at the YCS this weekend.
Definitely one of the top choices. Going to start with a Starlight, Pot of Prosperity. Oh, you see Macrocosmos already and Dimension Shifter. So things are already going to be tough for Albert. Looks like he's going to go with the macro. I mean, yeah, I guess if he doesn't have Stree, the Pot of Prosperity would be in the graveyard already, so he wouldn't be able to use Shifter. But if you could get to Flundries and Stree, you can banish that Pot of Prosperity and then still use it. So.
Well, the Macrocosmos is permanent, and I think it's also less vulnerable than the Dimension Shifter because of the fact that it's not stopped by the Herald of Orange Light.
Yeah, the Herald of Orange Light is probably fresh in Michael's head. I mean, we even heard at the end of the last game, he's like, dang, like I had a chance if you just didn't have that Orange Light on my Beasteel, yeah.
So
But, oh, good.
Yeah, and he has Rubina and Map, so he has a phenomenal opening this game.
Yeah, you see your Flundries opponent pick something that's not Map or Flundries off of Pot of Prosperity, not good.
They probably have it already. So he's going to summon the Rubina using the Map's effect, use its effect to add the Barrier Statue to his hand, the effect of the Rubina. Then he's going to normal summon Eglin, and that will allow him to add a high-level Flundries monster to his hand. But since its effect activates on the field, Albert is able to use the effect from his hand of Havness and send the top 3 cards of his deck to the graveyard.
Yeah, with those mills, I think Michael might have to do here is as his Eglin resolves, he can normal summon the Wind Barrier statue. Oh, did he add the Wind Barrier statue off Rubina?
He did. He definitely has it, but he went for the M-Pen here.
Interesting, because yeah, he could have resolved the Eglin, summoned the Wind Barrier, he wouldn't be able to fusion summon, and then he contributes his other 2 monsters for his normal summon for M-Pen afterwards.
Okay, we both know 5.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested that why he didn't summon the Barrier statue instead. But now another mill 5 from those amazing mills from Havness. Havness did hit Medora, Kelbeck, and Sharon. So he milled 5, and now Sharon is going to fusion summon, returning those 2 tier elements to the bottom of the deck. Summon Katalos, I imagine?
I would imagine so. So he summons it in defense position because the M-Pen can negate the effects of attack position monsters. So this assures Albert that he'll be able to use his Kalos' effect. We see the Barrier Statue come out after with the additional normal summon, but not before Kid Kalos.
Yeah, maybe just, this is kind of the normal way you play it, is normally you tribute summon for M-Pen, then summon your Barrier Statue. But yeah, maybe not realizing he could have resolved the Eagle and summoning the Barrier Statue of Stormwinds before the fusion summoning would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, there is value to having M-Pen on the field as well.
Yeah, he'd still be able to summon it.
He could have then normal summoned it for his turn after everything resolved, I guess, by tributing the other 2 Flundries monsters. That probably wouldn't have been a better play because it would have just cut off the Kid Kalos entirely.
Yep. But we'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
Still definitely, even though he has the Kid Kalos on the field, Michael has the trap, Dreaming Town. So he's going to be able to use the Dreaming Town, the main phase, to tribute something to get this Kid Kalos off the field. And then he won't be able to attack over the Barrier Statue, and he's still in fine shape.
I'm sorry, this is Chain Link 1, and Robin is Chain Link 2. Both of these effects were activated.
One of the annoying things playing against Flundries' deck is that they can stack the chain links to use the effects that return the Flundries monsters from the banish zone to the hand to protect the effects of the cards under it on the chain.
Yeah, that's always a really cool factor into it.
But I activated the effect. I said Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. Shut up. And this is like a repairable game state because I did Chain 1, Chain 2.
Yeah, he activated the effect and
it's
just
very clear that I went Chain 1, Chain 2.
Yeah, as long as he declares his effect, it has to resolve.
Yeah, I did activate it. It's just didn't choose. Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely an easy thing to fix real fast. You just forgot to grab it. There's a lot of things going on. As long as you declare all your effects, make sure you're on top of it. That's the important part when you're playing. Like when I used to play, people would be like, "Why do you talk so much when you're playing?" I'm like, I want to make sure my opponent knows exactly what I'm doing. I want him to know what phase we're in. I want every time there's a life point change, I want to make sure he has the same life points I have. You just got to be meticulous about the little things.
Yeah, clear communication is very important when dueling.
It looks like he is going to banish Medora just to shuffle 3 cards from his own graveyard back into his deck.
What's the benefit of that?
If he wants to draw one of them, but I saw one of them was like Herald of Orange Light, so I don't know if he wants to draw Herald of Orange Light or...
Yeah.
I can't slide them in, I'm sorry.
And then draw face?
Draw face.
Draw?
We know he has a Macrocosmos down there too, so it's probably Macrocosmos and Dreaming Town, so...
Main face?
Tough news here for Albert.
I will activate
So Michael wastes no time flipping Macrocosmos. He doesn't want to give Albert the opportunity to put a card in the graveyard.
Sure.
Albert does activate Pearlerino, so he will get to search for a Tearlament card to add to his hand, and that could be instrumental to ultimately destroying something like the Macrocosmos. It's going to be hard now, though, to send cards from his graveyard to his deck, while any card sent to the graveyard gets banished by Macrocosmos.
Yeah, Macro, a good one, but an old one, but a good one.
Now, if he hadn't used the Mudora effect, he could have banished it to return
Switch to Tecmo?
those 3 cards to his deck and then destroy a card, right?
As long as one of them was a Tearlament, yes.
Oh, he may not have Tearlaments in the grave, though, right?
I didn't see what he shuffled back, but yeah, that is definitely one way to play around to try and deal with what's on the board. But he does have to get through 2 layers of it.
You're right.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Still in main.
And he has a lot of cards in his hand, but they're all pretty much useless thanks to... Yeah, he's going to try to go to battle to attack over the Stormwind, but it's still in the main phase. Oh, that's going to get banished. Everything's banished, but Michael is going to summon Robina, Chainlink 1, Eaglin, Chainlink 2 to go to the hand.
Yep, that's thanks to the effect of the Gleaming Town. I don't know what's in Albert's graveyard, but it looks like none of it is going to be helpful at this point, and I think you're correct. I don't think there's a Tearlament monster in there that may at some point allow him to use the Pearlerino's effect. Robina gets DD Crow. Even with Macrocosmos up, he takes the Crow for safe measure.
Yeah, we got to make sure you just have all your bases covered.
May I read Macrocosmos real quick?
Yeah.
I guess everything.
It's everything.
Resolving the Robina's effect, he's then able to normal summon Eglin, and we're going to see him use Eglin's effect.
Your trap card is banished.
Oh, he's the card for this, yeah. I think we're trying to say thank you, Judge.
Macrocosmos does banish everything, so you're going to make sure that Dreaming Town is banished. And let's see how Albert is going to deal. Did he say pass turn? Yeah. Oh, no, he's still resolving his Eaglin. Okay, so Eaglin is going to add Miss Valley, Apex, Avian. I'm surprised he's not going for Ryza, unless he already has it. Does he play Ryza the Mega Monarch? No? I mean, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, he does already have it. I was like, he has to get rid of this Kictalos. Yeah.
Chainlink 1 to, thinking Chainlink 1 to target.
Okay, he's fanning out his graveyard, so we can confirm there are no Tearlament monsters in there.
Oh, that's kind of cheeky, right? So Chainlink 1 target. Target is Chainlink 1.
So he's going to use...
So, hold on. Where are you sending it with?
This is getting put back into your extra deck.
The first one goes to the top of the deck. The second one goes to the top of the deck.
Returned to the hand. That's Chainlink 1.
Yep.
Plus Chainlink
And the Ryza is going to go back to the hand.
Is, I believe, Eagle was banished, so I'm going to then activate Rob, because I already activated Eagle.
Okay, that's fine. And top of the deck, you see it?
Yeah, Rise of the Mega Monarch's a cool one. The first target is going to go from the field to the top of the deck. Second target from either graveyard to the top of the deck. Third target from the field to the hand. And that's if you tribute a wind monster to summon it.
So Albert tried to special summon Sheeran, and Michael reminded him that he can't because it's not a wind monster, and the wind barrier statue stops it. The super polymerization on the top of Albert's deck probably won't be helpful because I imagine there are no wind-type monsters he can fusion summon with it. So Michael has really created a lock on Albert's moves.
Yeah, and you see the normal summon from Sharon come down. You forced the normal summon, as you said. That's going to let the map trigger. So now Michael's going to be able to summon that Toucan. Thanks to the Dreaming Town being banished from Macrocosmos, he's able to add it back with the Toucan. Toucan's my favorite. I love just the fact that it can add traps. It can add Flunderies and Imp in. It can add any Flunderies card. And look, we're seeing Ryza come down again. So the first one's going to go to the top of the deck.
Yeah, because this allows me to tribute summon over tribute summon.
Looks like they just want to confirm that the Mega Monarch is not a hard once per turn effect.
Target.
You can use it twice? Okay.
It's, I'm going to say, this is banished, correct. This is banished, yeah. I'm going to go Ryza, Chainlink 1, stack. And then, can I see your graveyard? Chainlink 1 stack. I'm going to chain link to
Taking his time to figure
myself.
out his
And then
rise of
chain link
targets.
3, I'll return it to the hand. So this gets stacked. Oh, I'm sorry. And this gets returned back to the hand.
This is one of those games where like time's winding down. Like I would probably have already conceded if I was Albert. I don't think he's there's a single card he can draw that's going to fix his hand to get him back into this game.
Well, certainly the Sheeran on top of his deck won't.
Yeah, he already knows it, and there's a Super Poly underneath that, right? Like it's still there. He hasn't shoveled his deck since then. Like this is where the decision-making process like really comes into play. People complain about time and stuff, but then they don't try and save any time. Like this game is over.
Yeah.
Michael's gonna normal summon Robina. Robina chain link 1. It looks like Albert's gonna take some time to think. Oh no, Michael's the one thinking.
That good?
Yeah.
Like this time is winding down. We're down to 16 minutes after you side deck. You're looking at going in with 10 minutes into the last game.
I'm sorry, add off the Robin. Yeah, add off Robin.
And, at the same time, I feel like Michael's also not playing. Like you could be worried that Albert's up to no good. With 2 face down back rows going in game 2, there's some cards you could have potentially put in that he might want to like consider. But I mean, he still has he's going to be able to do the same thing he did with Ryza and bounce 2 cards this turn if he wants. He can put both those back rows on top of his deck and literally stack the top 4 cards of Albert's deck.
Albert may never draw a card he hasn't seen yet.
It's looking that way.
So if he can't win with the cards he has, I don't think he can win.
Okay. I'm going to then
So we see M-Pen come out.
summon Penguin. I will Penguin 1. And I'm
You're right, though. This is the end of this duel is looking more like a formality than anything else.
I mean, really, that all it comes down to is whether if he wants to play around his back rows and double rise both the back rows, or if he just wants to finish it right now. He has all the tools he needs to end the game.
And then I'm going to go.
Yeah, as Shizu would say, Albert's fate is sealed.
There you go. But, even Shizu can't predict all the futures. Kaiba, who's going to predict Kaiba tributing Obelisk the Tormentor for Blue Eyes White Dragon? Not me.
No, never.
I'm going to go.
I love Shizu. I'm glad she's having her time. People like talking like, oh, Shizu, she made top 8 at Battle City. She has a Millennium item. She is she's the protector of the Egyptian God cards. Actually really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool character. I never really, I always thought of her as kind of a minor character, but you're right. Like she's one of the Millennium item holders.
Yeah, there's all of those characters who hold the Millennium items are just huge. Yeah. But she's there. Imagine what would have happened if she wasn't there. Merrick would have just done, ended the world.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty bad.
She was tremendously impactful in the plot of the original series.
And now her cards are going to be quite impactful here at YCS Pasadena this weekend.
No doubt about that.
But yeah, I don't need my Millennium Necklace to tell the future on this one. This game is looking like it's going to end here pretty shortly. If Michael's able to get 8,000 damage on the board. He has 54, 64. He needs 1,600 more points, but he's going to take a moment to consider his options. A lot of times, more and more, it's like, it's not really the time issue. It's like, it's a play issue, I think. The time wouldn't come up so much if everyone is just a little more quick on their plays.
That's for sure. I've always found myself going to time in the round more often when I played a deck I was not familiar or comfortable with.
Yep. Comfort is definitely key.
In case that's a super poly. I know he's playing super poly, so I don't want to play into super poly. I think I'm going to just attempt to enter battle here.
Well, he's short of damage, so maybe not, scooping going to pay off here for Albert.
Unlikely, since we know his next card.
And the one under that.
Yeah.
The crazy part is Albert also knows. So what is his game plan here by not conceding? Is it he wants to have less time going here into game 3?
It's possible.
Would that be slow play, though? Is that not? You can't really give slow play for not conceding when your opponent's the one who's actually just making the game take longer.
Yeah. It's also possible he's just not really considering the clock.
Yeah, but it's definitely something you need to keep in mind anytime you're playing at a YCS level event.
Yeah, I mean, when years ago when I competed in the World Championship, won Shonen Jump tournament, time was not as much of a factor. And
A lot less
my
decisions.
the games were not as complicated. There were fewer decisions to make, and my general rule was I never concede. Make my opponent finish me off. If they mess it up, I can still win.
Which is a great rule, to have. I mean, I think like in like this kind of situation, like it would be a pretty big mistake to not be able to get out, having the macro and everything. But I do completely agree with that winning mentality. Like you want your opponent, if your opponent can make a mistake, you should allow them to have the opportunity to make that mistake. I definitely agree with that.
And as a coverage writer, I have seen many games where I thought it was a lock, and a player made a mistake, and
I remember
just like that turned around.
You were writing one of my feature matches, and my opponent had an Cherry-Barky on, and I mirror forced it, and he sent it to the graveyard, and I looked at you afterwards. I was like, I knew it would happen. I knew it would work. I'm not just activating this for fun.
Sometimes you got to play till you're only out.
Exactly, but it's the heart of the cards, right? And it looks like a tribute summon here from Rise of the Mega Monarch. Going to be happening. Going to put the Merly that's not doing anything back on top of the deck.
I'm sure Albert will be thrilled to draw that again if he makes it to his next turn.
And still the decision, the second and third targets in this Rise are inconsequential.
I'm not sure the first target had consequence.
You could literally, maybe you have to target the Merly. He does have Solic, but what does the Solic do? Negate the barrier statue? Oh, okay, the Solic could help here. But he still has the macro.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Chain Link 3's target the barrier statue. Just one more thing. So this just negates. It doesn't send anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can bring this in the crown. Next thing, send one less and control the bigger. This is thinking. This is fine.
Super Poly?
To target super poly.
You can't. It hasn't resolved. It hasn't resolved yet.
Yeah, he can only do that if he has a wind monster to summon.
Yeah. This will have. Yeah. This is the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that can't do that.
So
maybe he isn't. Maybe they actually do think there are still outs they're playing too. Yes.
Okay.
And now there's nothing to Super Poly.
This gets stacked.
Oh, I guess he could make.
No, it doesn't because the
No, can you make Garura?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will resolve. This will bounce itself back.
Yeah, because the Riser goes back to the hand.
And then resolution of Super Poly.
Oh, he can use the Winged Beast. Okay, he can make Garura with the barrier statue and an imp
They. Yeah, how far does that get him?
I will.
These two.
Okay, so that's his only option here. Super Polymerization is banished by Macrocosmos.
Yeah, maybe Albert sees something I don't, and he's finding a way to climb back in this game. Maybe I was too quick to want to concede, but
he's just so far behind.
But the moment I checked the time, the clock was like at 18 minutes when I said it. Maybe 16, but still like, is this worth a 10-minute investment into this turn?
He still has no way to get rid of Macrocosmos though. So okay, now he can special summon Sheeran, but its effect is not going to be too useful.
It's going to do nothing. Yeah, it's part of the effect. If he can't activate it, it just gets banished. It's not a cost, yeah. If it was a cost to discard to special summon, it would have to go to the graveyard. You couldn't pay the cost, so you couldn't use the effect. Since it's at resolution, he's able to summon. And then he's going to mill 3. They're going to be banished, though. What, is he looking to go into Dark, maybe, and take Dimension Shifter? He doesn't even get to draw the card.
No, he would not. Dimension Shifter doesn't have the stats necessary to hold up to M-Pen.
And Dark would be in attack mode also, so you just can't use attack mode effects. This is bizarre.
All right, he conceded, so he made several plays forward, but
you could say he made plays. Yeah, those were not plays. Those were they were plays, but they were not getting him anywhere. There was no. They were plays to nowhere. A road.
They were plays, but going forward may not have been accurate.
Yeah. They were definitely plays. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Yeah, interesting match there for game number 2. I don't know what his game plan was or where he was trying to go. Maybe he was just wanting to, like you said, play his cards until his life points hit 0. But no, he didn't even let him attack for game. He didn't pass back to him and say, your turn. Well, he did concede there.
At that point, there's clearly no way to win.
Then it's clear. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that duel looked like it was over a while ago for sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. But now they're going to game number 3. Albert's going to be going first.
It's interesting to note Michael's deck is drastically different than the runner-up deck from YCS Minneapolis, because that deck was built to go second using main deck copies of cards like Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched. And
those are going to be big, yep.
Yeah, Michael's deck is built in a more traditional way where it has a better turn going first.
Yeah, I mean, the Flundries, definitely want to go first. We saw how dominating that game was. I mean, to be able to pot a Prosperity from the Macrocosmos, Albert never even could smell a card anywhere in his deck that would deal with the Macrocosmos for that game. He was able to stack the cards on top. Fantastic. But we did talk about in game 1, Michael does have some cards to help going second, because Flundries are notoriously going second. If you just shifter or bust, right? Like, you either have the shifter or you don't. But he has those crows, those bestials, other ways to combat these tier cards. And as long as he can make sure he doesn't mill Yugioh or Kelbeck, hitting one of those 2-1s that mill 5 from both the players, he might be okay with just like DD Crow or Bestial here or there. If maybe Albert just starts with like a normal summon Rhinoheart Sin, try to go into Kick Talos, hit him with the Bestial, cut his turn off. There's definitely ways for Michael to still be into this game, but we'll have to see how it plays out though.
It's interesting that he side decks the Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure because of what players are expecting the field to look like this weekend. Do you think an argument can be made that it's worth main decking?
Which card?
Macrocosmos.
Oh, Macrocosmos. Yeah, I think so. I don't think that. I think if you're expecting to play it, like maybe just one, maybe not both, maybe just like maybe the macro because it's more all-encompassing. But yeah, if you have like that card you can draw and just have an ace for it, because even if you have to survive the first 2 rounds, right? If you're expecting a deck that's going to be more powerful than the other decks and you want to counter it, you're going to start facing them a lot in the later rounds. So you could include in your main deck, just make sure you get by those first couple rounds, and then you have that edge going there on out. But the downside of main decking macro and Dimensional Fissure is they're really only good going first. I guess D-Fissure has that little bit of impact going second because you can't activate it, but then so maybe main decking D-Fissure, but side decking the macro would be the way to go. But I'd probably want to keep him in the side deck, even if that is so good against the other decks. At least for the first event where it's new. Maybe if Shizu destroys everything this weekend and it's going to be like the dominant deck, the next tournament, I'd consider main decking the Macrocosmos.
We'll see if that happens.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into game number 3 here. Round 2 of YCS Pasadena. We got Michael and his Flundries up against Albert and his Shizu Cheerleading deck, and let's go ahead and jump into game number 3.
So Albert should have the advantage now because he is going first. Oh, but Michael does have Dimension Fish.
And he has Herald of Orange
shifter,
Light,
which makes it like going first, but Herald of Orange Light negates its activation.
And the way he did it, we can't tell what it is. His opponent can't either, but it is a Yugioh. This is the combo I've been talking about. When you're playing against these other decks using shifter, if you have Orange Light Yugioh, you go from not being able to play the game to turning everything online instantly.
Oh, so good.
So Michael kind of giving some information that he has a Bestial in hand, kind of asking if he banished from the graveyard if it was still resolved. No, don't do it. He's doing it.
Oh, no.
So, okay, no, he realized he doesn't want to do it. Yeah, because the tiers have to return to the deck, so you can banish them and it stops them from resolving. Not the case for a Yugioh here.
Well, he can't banish a Yugioh anyway. It's Earth, right?
Oh, it's an Earth. Yeah, so he had to banish the Herald of Orange Light. Yeah.
I don't know if he tried to do it and it just wasn't legal, but
I think it was both of those things were happening in that interaction. But this mill is huge here. We see Sharon, Havnus, Scream, Medora, and Rhinoheart. That's 5 different cards, all with 5 different effects.
This is everyone's nightmare. Your opponent flips 5 cards and uses 5 effects with a Yugioh on the first turn. You can just imagine how Michael's feeling, playing Dimension Shifter, thinking, yes, his turn is going to end. And then just getting it completely reversed.
Dimension shift is negated, so it goes to the graveyard.
Oh, this goes to the graveyard.
We're still in draw phase.
This is all still in the draw phase. We haven't even moved into the standby phase
So
yet.
he's using
Oh.
Ghost Sister in the
Oh
draw
my
phase, but
gosh.
Called by the Grave banishes it and negates its effect.
Wow. I don't even know that's a good called by. Because if you don't special summon, it has your life point.
Yeah, he could have, but I think he'd rather just build a field, right,
Yeah,
than end his turn with nothing on his field and 4,000 life points.
Yeah,
and his opponent at 4,000 life points, rather. But with time so low in the round, I think there would have been merit to that play.
I had it solid off the screen.
But it's okay, though. At least this way he won't have to worry about losing in time. He knows he's about to do a whole bunch.
Yeah,
if he has some sort of card in his deck maybe that does damage, yeah, then we'll see what is going to happen here.
Yeah, it could end in a draw. We'll see.
Kick off of it. He's going to let me add
I can chain at this point because you can change it off.
your target. You can only target the hero that warrants light in my graveyard.
Yeah, because it's the only light.
Yes. You can target your own graveyard too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. Doesn't really matter. I'll banish guy.
Chain Medora. I'll target the hero.
Oh, so Michael uses the effect of a Bestial, but Albert chains the effect of Mudora. I think that's Mudora. Yeah, Mudora to return it to the deck so that the Bestial can't be summoned to the field.
It goes back to the stays in hand.
Yes. And I'll resolve kick outs.
Interesting. So he values, yeah, just keeping the D-Seal off the field. Like, he can only activate once in his hand for the turn, so he won't be able to do it again this turn.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable play because the Mudora is not particularly effective shuffling Michael's cards back into the deck.
I'm not sure what he's considering here. He literally he has all the options in the world to him. But he's going to add Charlement's Heartbeat. Okay.
Yes.
Heartbeat's a cool one. We could see some play in Minnesota last week. We actually saw its milling effect. I'm pretty sure this is the one, if it's milled, you get to add a banished trap. And you might wonder, how do you banish the Charlement trap? Well, your opponent can D-shifter you, and then you mill that trap and it adds it back, which we actually saw happen, which I got pretty excited about. Or it's either, it might be that one or Crime. I don't remember which one. It's one of those two that does it. But now he's using Kiktal's effect to summon a level 4 monster to his field that he just spent all that time considering if he was going to add Sharon to his hand. But he did, in fact, go for Sharon. The Kiktal's is going to mill 5.
After summoning Rhino Heart, he sends Merly to the graveyard.
Try not to nick your cards.
Alright, new chain, we're going to do... We'll do Kelp... no.
Okay, we do still have a few more minutes on the time clock. Even though it hit 0 here, there was like a pause for one of the rulings at some point in the match, so they do still have a couple more minutes.
Cosmos 2. And then Agito 3, Callback 4. Sorry, yes. Merly 1, Sharon 2, and then Callback 3, Agito 4. Is that fine?
Yep. So we have a few more minutes here on the clock.
So Agito's effect resolves first, sending the top 5 cards of each deck to the graveyard.
No notify?
We see the evenly match that Michael sided in. Kelbeck's effect sends 5 more. Now he can use Merly.
So I've used all 3 fusions for this turn.
And he will fusion summon Dragos Tapelia. As I mentioned before, Dragos Tapelia is extremely powerful against Floowandereeze.
Yep, resolving the Merly still for a fusion summon. I wonder if he's going to go for Mud Dragon or... Oh, no, he's going for Kaleido Heart.
He'll summon the Kaleido Heart in defense mode.
Oh, wow. Looks like he... Yep, so we do still have that time on the clock. Not quite in time, so he's not able to finish his turn in time.
Go ahead.
All right, so we'll just pass his turn there. Michael has 1.5 minutes, it looks like.
Draw. Stand by.
Yes.
Start a main.
We'll start with Pot of Duality. He'll check the top 3 cards of his deck, and let's see which one he adds to his hand.
That's interesting.
He gets the Ghost Sister.
Maybe he's thinking, like, since they are winding down in time, he'll be able to win if he can get these monsters off the board and use it. Or if Albert tries to spell summon during his turn, he can chain the Ghost Sister, maybe, trying to gain some life with it. He could win just with an Advent.
Heartbeats?
That's true.
Oh, sorry. Target.
So he's going to use Heartbeat to destroy Flundery's map.
Set it for me, and in the sense of whatever, you can target this one, so we're good. Good charm shift. Okay.
Shuffles back to deck.
It shuffles.
He'll discard the Exchanger Spirit to turn on extra effects of his Ishizu monsters.
Okay. I will. Thinking. I have. I'm going to attempt to activate Magnet Hut. Attempt.
Your duality, you're locked out.
Oh, 'cause it
Oh, he tried to special summon, I believe it was Magnum Hut.
Oh, no.
Can't because of Duality, which stops him from special summoning.
That's a Nambo.
That is indeed a non-bow. It is not a good interaction for the deck.
So I get to summon and that's it. Okay. I will summon Stree, but I can't really do anything. Yeah, I can't really do anything because I don't have anything banished. Okay.
He's gonna set.
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to do.
Yeah, this.
Oh, so
Literally, the not conceding. See, I thought maybe there was going to be a benefit from him not conceding here in game number 2.
looks like it
Like,
cost Albert.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be able to do some damage here in time, but
This is game 3.
yeah, so it would just be a draw.
This is game 3.
So yeah, definitely not the way he probably wanted to play out. But yeah, giving up 10 minutes in a game that you could never win cost you here.
Yeah,
Maybe he didn't realize there was 3 more minutes on the clock, and so when he got to that point in his turn, he's like, "Oh well, time's about to be called." And they're like, "Well, there's actually 3 more minutes, to go." He's like, "Well, I guess I can't do this now." So he ends up turning into a draw. Just actually a crazy game, but
yeah, it's safe to say that Albert probably would have won that had it been able to continue because
he had nothing.
Michael had nothing going for him there.
I mean, he had the shifter at the beginning. He had the got stopped by Herald Orange Light. He had the Dogwood, got hit by Call by the Grave. Like everything he tried to do was completely stopped, but just running out of time. Like that's what you just got to know, especially when you know what you're like. I can understand the heart of the cards. Very important Yu-Gi-Oh! Main thing. You need something. The best part about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is you can top deck and jump back into a game. That is literally my favorite part about the game. But when your opponent is stacking your dead cards on top of your deck, and you have multiple cards that are stopping you from doing anything, and you're not thinking like, it might be good to go to, and especially when you're up a game too. If I'm up a game, I'm okay with conceding and going, you know what, let's go to game 3. But before we go to game 3, we'll be back with an interview with our winner. So stick around for one of our players. So don't go anywhere.